so excited about this one, guys. But first, let's make some matcha. Does that work? I think you can see me, right? Okay, so at this point, I have been planning the week for years. And when I mean years, like years. And I have tried so many different steps, so many different things in order to make sure that I'm making the best out of my week. And honestly, this is the only thing that has stuck. This system that I'm using right now, it's easy, it's effortless, and it makes it even a little bit enjoyable for me to plan the week. It's just the best system I've ever created. So, of course, I'm gonna walk you guys through all of it. But of course, I need a little pick-me-up before we get started because this is gonna be a really fun one. So, grab a cup of coffee, matcha, and let's get started. When it comes to planning the week, there are two stages in which this happens. Number one is we collect all of the information that we need in order to plan the week. That means going through your inboxes, making sure you have all the tasks you want to get done, looking at your goals, going through your calendar and making sure that you have a really good idea of what your deadlines and appointments for the week are, and all of that kind of collection stage where you're just going to grab all this information and put it all together so that we can now make an effective plan for the week, which is part two. Saturday today, and although I typically plan on Sundays, and actually in this video that I just made, I mentioned that I do it Monday morning, which now I'm hating, so back on a Sunday schedule. And even though I should be planning tomorrow, I'm gonna be super busy, got a birthday, all things, so we're doing it today, and I thought I'd walk you guys through it with me. So it all starts in my headquarters or get it together dashboard. This is where I've got kind of like my planning rituals and checklists that I use, all the different areas of my life, projects, tasks, and all that good stuff. I already have a video that is a full walkthrough of this dashboard in case you guys are interested. I'm gonna leave that linked somewhere around here. So I go into the weekly planning, and normally I do a lot more than just plan the week. I do a little bit of a cleanup and reset that helps me kind of gather all of that information. I'm not gonna walk you through that right now, but basically it's going through all of your inboxes. I have something for tasks, if I have notes or any of that stuff, and I make sure to go through them and see what kind of needs to be dealt with this week. It doesn't take me that long. This week was actually a really bad example because I have nothing on my inbox. I usually have a lot of things here that I haven't categorized and that I need to decide if I'm gonna do them this week or not, but I already went through them. So this is, you know, simple, everybody can do this, but this is where things get a little bit more specific. So the first thing I do is just a huge brain dump. I make sure to think about any things that I could possibly need to do this week off the top of my head. Sometimes I come up with many, sometimes I don't. Today, I think the only thing I need to do is I go through more or less what I have to do for the month that I want to kind of move to this week. Right now, there's not much. And then this is the biggest part. I go through my entire dashboard that I created in order to get my life together, and I just go through all of the different areas and find tasks that I may need to do for each of those specific areas. This is the theory of dominions of order, which are all of the different areas of my life that I kind of need to keep afloat and kind of put a little bit of love into on a regular basis in order to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So I've defined what these areas are for me, and I have a specific kind of like place where I can find projects, tasks, and anything really related to those areas. Again, the full video will be linked, but I do that really quickly, and this really helps me kind of go through all of my life in a gist and grab all of the tasks that I need. As you can see, after I've gone through all of those areas, I gathered a lot more tasks, and that's what makes it so easy for you to actually have kind of like a list of all the different areas of your life right there. I gathered all of these tasks. I don't really care if it's too like organized and structured. You'll see why in a minute, but yes, I do use Notion for a lot of this kind of task management, especially related to specific projects and specific areas of my life. I put in the tasks kind of like just how you saw right there. And all I make sure that they have is kind of like a status of when I'm gonna get them done. I specifically like to use this system where I have kind of like something I'm gonna do maybe at some point later. These are for like just tasks that really, I don't know, they pop into my head and I don't wanna forget them, or something I wanna get done this month. This is kind of like the list that I'm constantly trying to get through, and then specifically stuff that I'm doing this week. And then if it's done, it's completed. So I use a status property for that, and then obviously projects, and I just group them kind of like by context just because this helps me see them in those specific areas. And this context kind of helps me batch a little bit better, which you'll see in a minute. But as you saw, I just gathered a bunch of tasks that I kind of have to squeeze into my week at some point. And this is one of the parts that takes me the longest, obviously. But actually in real time, I did this in 10 minutes. So it's not that long. This is arguably the most important part. This is what's going to help me determine what I actually want to get out of this week, what progress I want to make, what are the things I'm focusing on. So I do take my time by going through each of my goals and figuring out what the objective for this week is. As I am doing this, I also took the time to kind of see how the week went for each of these goals and do a little bit of a reflection. Not super necessary when it comes to planning your week, but it really helps you stay accountable for what you're doing each week. I personally love this part of reflecting the week. I think I have a video on the weekly recap that I used to do before, and now it's a little bit just simpler, but I think it's a very cathartic time for me in order to just be proud of the things that I did and also realize where I could have maybe done better and what I can do next week. It's just sometimes we forget that we actually do so much more than even our calendars reflect, or even worse, our memories remember. So it's important to me to take that little bit of a pause and be thankful and proud of how my week went. Okay, but now let's get to the fun part. So I have a bunch of tests that I want to do. I have already looked through my goals and I already know all of the things I want to accomplish this week. How do I actually start planning for them? This is where we're going to use that blueprint that we created in part 1. This is the master schedule that you have really analyzed and deeply thought about and figured out to try to optimize your life in a way that works for you, that allows you to have a cutoff point, some balance, all the things that I talk about in the video as to why creating this weekly schedule is just gonna give you your life back. So make sure to watch that if you guys haven't already after this video, so you can create a schedule that is tailored to you. But after you've created your schedule, you're gonna have this blueprint for your life, right? And that's what we're gonna use to plan the week, which is why having made that blueprint in the first place makes your life so much easier. And I know what you're thinking. I know. How can anybody live by the minute to an already preset schedule? How do you stick to that without going crazy? And the answer is pretty simple. I don't. I don't stick to it. Exactly. So this is my schedule. And this is what most of my weeks look like. It's not perfect. It's not meant for you to stick by the hour on the hour, what you said you were gonna do a month ago. That's not how life works. And it's a recipe for anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. So instead, you have a blueprint that serves as your guide, as your overall view on how your week can go. And then you shift things around as you go, which is why my favorite app for planning my calendar and my tasks is Sunsama. Let me show you how it works. So the way that Sunsama works is that it creates tasks, or it has these slots for tasks over here. So for example, hello, new task, right? To each task, you can assign a specific channel that you want to go with it. And I have the channels here. And the idea is that you can drag this task onto a calendar, right? Pretty simple. And honestly, the best function ever. But more importantly is that if you kind of plan things around a little different. So let's say I think that this task is going to take me 2.5 hours. Then you can schedule it into the calendar and it'll block out 2.5 hours. Like, what? This is amazing. So the reason why this is so useful is because it makes it very easy for you to modify your calendar as you go throughout the day, to move things around, but to also have a basis that you can already use. So let me walk you through, for example, Monday, where in my Monday calendar, we already have the things from the weekly scheduled that I had already created in the last video, right? Since this is already in there, I can automatically kind of like just drag the tasks to either the white space or to where I want them to go. So if I know that I want to do, I don't know, like plan the week or something during my meal time, during my lunch break, I can just drag it right onto that block and I know where things go, and I know that's going to take me, let's say 30 minutes. If I had put this like, let's say 45 minutes, you'll see that it'll create a specific 45-minute block. And that's what makes this app honestly magical. So bottom line, it takes a little bit of getting used to the app itself, but the things you need to know are it's very helpful if you create channels for the same as your calendars, because you can automatically group things like that and it makes it so much easier. And then it works with your Google Calendar, right? So I can have my calendar right here. This is my weekly plan. and I add tasks and they will show up on my Google Calendar if I go to the Google Calendar app as well. And the other thing that I love about this app is that it has a lot of connections. So for example, I have my Notion connected here and I can see specifically my tasks database. I have it filtered for all the things that I have in my status this week. So all the things that you are seeing that are due this week that I want to get to this week, you can also see here on this sidebar, and I can drag them to the day that I want to get them done in with the appropriate channels. Sorry, I was filtering before with the appropriate channels and all that stuff. There's a bunch of other really cool things about this app, but I don't want to make this like a app tutorial. Just play around with it. You don't need this app though. If you already have a schedule in Google Calendar, you can use Google Calendar for free in your task management and that drag your tasks over those time blocks, if that makes sense. And you can also do it manually. Like you can have your tasks on Notion and then just know that you're doing them in that specific batch, right? So first things first, you gotta check your calendar. Unfortunately, we all have appointments, urgent things, so we gotta make sure that we know when those appointments are happening and if we have any deadlines that are coming up. After that, I like to go through my goals that I decided for the week. This is another really cool thing about the app where you can kind of like plan the objectives for the week, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. At this point, what I'm doing is going through my goals for the quarter or the month that I have in my master plan page and just picking out the things that I want to focus on this week, same as I referred to earlier in the video. Sometimes I do this all in one go. But the basic idea is to have defined what the objectives that I want to achieve this week are, and I write those into Sunsama. Now, the reason why I like to do the objectives is just because it's very easy to have them here, and then whatever task you have, you can like relate it to a specific objective. So I think you go R, and then, you know, this will be attached to that objective, and it makes it very easy for you to make sure that you are actually in your schedule and in your tasks, putting in things that go with the things you want to achieve that week. Does that make sense? Anyways, at this point, you do want to have a list of things that you would like to achieve this week in front of you near your plans so that you have laser focus throughout the week. And finally, this is the fun part. Now that we have objectives and all of the tasks that are inputted into this beautiful system of Notion or wherever you collect all of your tasks, you're going to start dropping them on the days where you have assigned the batches or the groups of things you do repeatedly in your weekly schedule. So for example, let's do everything that is personal. This is what I want you to see. Let's forget about Sunday. I have a lot of things that I do repeatedly on Sunday. They're already on my Sunsama because you can have them as repeated tasks, right? But let's say Monday morning, I have a block for things that during the morning in this kind of free time that I have over here, I typically like to get the house kind of like running or whatever. So I will just make sure to put that task right there during that time. And then I know that I'm gonna probably do the laundry during my lunch break. That's typically how it goes. Just drop it around there. And then the groceries I'll usually do after the gym. These are easy because these are repeated tasks. And then for example, for Tuesday, again, as you can see, I'm moving, sorry, I'm gonna move this. As you can see, I'm moving through Tuesday and now this is the Tuesday calendar, right? So again, in my master schedule that we created, I have a batch for admin tasks. So I'm gonna go into my Notion thing and just look at anything that is admin and I'm just gonna drop it onto Tuesday because that's probably when I'm gonna have the most time to get that done. This one's also kind of admin. And then if I have anything on my backlog, let's do that. Do you see what I just did? So all of these tasks, I really don't know how long they're gonna take me, but my plan is I know that these are admin tasks and I know that by like the channel that they're in and all that stuff. And I know that I can get them done during this batch. So when Tuesday morning comes up and I know that I'm doing like my admin batch around that time, I already have all the tasks here for me and it's very easy to move them around if they don't get done at that time. And then I do the same thing over and over. I just begin to drop things on the days where I have those batches already determined for me. Now, of course, I don't go crazy with this. I do try to leave some tasks in that little like side bar, or if this would be applying to you and you're not using Sunsama, you can leave some tasks in just this like this week column. And that's how I pretty much figure out my entire week. It's all pretty much set in stone. Because it's digital and because this app is so easy to merge tasks with calendar, it makes it very easy for me to shift those things around as the week comes up, and that's why I get these weird schedules. Oh, and my bonus section, wait, I forgot. The last thing I really like to do, and guys, this, like, it's taken me a lot longer because I've been talking to you, but normally I do this in 30 minutes. So it's actually pretty quickly. The last thing I like to do is my little weekly planning booklet that if you saw my productive habits for 2023 video, you might have seen it there. So I love this thing. I made it because of course I couldn't find one that I liked online, but come in, baby. It's fine, you can come in. Give me a pen. I love you. So the basic structure is just like the, you know, days of the week and then a little space to start your notes. But, you know, I started with bullet journaling, so I love having my little trackers to keep me on track throughout the week. At the bottom, I have a space for the objectives of the week. This is what I keep in front of me every single day. Like, this is on my desk staring at me. And the reason why I love it is because on the spaces for each day, I only write my top tasks for the day. So as you saw, there's a bunch of stuff in there. It is full of things that I have to do, and that can be overwhelming and it is really annoying. So I don't do that. I just pick 5, 3, sometimes 2 things that are really important that I really want to achieve that day, and that's what I plan. So on my desk, all I see is the objectives and the things I really want to do today. As the day goes, I use Sunsama to kind of move my schedule around, and then if I have some free time or a really batch that is already scheduled, then I'll do all those little things in that moment. I think I do a really bad job of making things that are actually simple seem simple. Like, this seems like a lot. I know it seems like a lot, but it's not, I promise you. Like, I normally do this in 30 minutes. Like, I go through all of this stuff in 30 minutes, and because I have the system down very quick, it's so simple. So bottom line, you need to go through all of the places where you collect information every week. It's gonna be so much easier, and then you write all the stuff you gotta get done that week, either from your brain or from all of those places that you collected. Dominions really help for that. And then you use the master schedule, which you created in last week's video, and you just dump the tasks where they need to go. If you're looking for an app to pick and you're willing to pay the price, Sunsama is my absolute favorite. Now, you can go watch that previous video if you haven't, and if you have, I'll have another one here for you. Yes, drop your questions. I know I'm not the best at explaining things, so drop any questions you have below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.